Hey everyone! Welcome back to Read and Roam. I'm heading out for lunch later, so I'm looking online for a restaurant. I found this nice one called La Bella Bistro. Check out the description on the restaurant's website. La Bella Bistro is a cozy, modern restaurant. The chef's menu changes weekly, featuring delicious handmade pasta. Please note, the owners are renovating, so the air conditioning system is currently out of service. Sounds good, right? But look at this review that was left by a customer last week. I was excited to try La Bella Bistro, but I found it uncomfortably hot. I don't know why they didn't turn on the air conditioning, and I couldn't find the dish my friend had recommended last week. I won't be returning. Not so positive. Isn't it interesting how these texts show different perspectives of the same restaurant? Can both perspectives be true? That's what I want to explore with you today with stories, how different points of view can shape our understanding of a story. When an author writes a story, they must decide who's telling the story. That person is called the narrator. Since the narrator is the storyteller, we see the story from their point of view, meaning the way they see and understand things. Just like people, narrators see and understand things differently. Today, we'll explore this by learning about the first-person point of view and third-person point of view. In the first-person point of view, the narrator is a character in the story, as they tell the story from their own perspective. Look at this example. I woke up to the sun shining on my face. "Oh no, I'm late," I called. I leapt out of bed and grabbed my bag. So we see the world from the character's eyes. It's like stepping into their shoes, hearing all their inner thoughts and feelings. There are also clues that help us identify the first-person point of view. One clue is pronouns. These are words that replace nouns in a sentence, like she or they, so we don't have to repeat names. In this text, which pronouns can you see? We see I and my, which you're likely to see in stories written in the first-person point of view. Now, let's talk about third-person point of view. The narrator is outside the story, not a character in it. Check out this text. Olivia was nervous for the race. As she put on her shoes, her friends wished her luck. They knew this was a big moment. In this point of view, we're like an invisible observer watching the story unfold from the outside. Unlike the first-person point of view, we don't experience the story through the character's eyes. We still learn what's happening, but it feels less personal because we're not hearing the thoughts and feelings directly from the character. In this text, we learn about Olivia and her friends. You'll notice some third-person narrators focus on just one character, while others seem to know everything about everyone. Sometimes narrators give us a big picture view of the story. Okay, we've identified this text as third-person point of view, but how can we be sure? Just like in first person, pronouns can be clues. Look at the text again. Which pronouns do you notice? Words like she, her, or they are signs that a text is in third person. Looking at pronouns can be helpful in identifying a narrator's point of view. But careful, stories often include a mix of pronouns, meaning you can't rely on pronouns alone. Instead, ask yourself, am I part of the story or outside the story? If you feel like you're in it, that's a sign it's first person. If you feel like you're outside, it's probably third person. Now it's your turn. I'll read two versions of the same scene about a character named Lucy. One is in first person point of view, and the other is in third person. As I read, try to figure out which is which. Here's the first text. I gripped the test paper as my stomach twisted into knots. I'd studied, but my mind was blank. I couldn't remember anything. I glanced over at my friend Christina, desperate for reassurance. Was she ignoring me? I sighed loudly, hoping to catch her attention, but she didn't look up. Seriously? She's ignoring me on purpose. What do you think? Pause the video to decide if it's the first person or third person point of view. Now, let's read the second text. Lucy clutched the test paper, her fingers tightening around the corners. She'd studied for this, but her mind felt empty. At the next table, her friend Christina was scribbling away. Unlike Lucy, she was completely absorbed in her work. Lucy sighed heavily, hoping her friend would look up, but she didn't notice and continued writing. Pause the video again to decide if this is the first person or third person point of view. In the first text, the story is told as if the narrator is a character in the story, meaning it's the first person. We also see the pronouns I, my, and me, which support this. In the second text, the story is told as if the narrator is outside the story, indicating it's the third person. We see the pronouns her and she, along with the character's name, Lucy, showing us we're right. Great job! Now we know who's telling each story, but does point of view actually affect the story? Let's find out. The narrator's point of view influences what we know about characters and events. Let's compare the texts to learn how. What details are the same in both? Both texts give us information about how Lucy's nervous while taking an exam. Her friend, Christina, is also taking the exam. But what details are different? In the first person point of view, Lucy's frustrated and thinks that Christina's ignoring her. Since we don't have any other information to go on, we assume that Christina is ignoring her. As readers, how does that make us feel about Christina? Probably pretty frustrated, just like Lucy does. In the third person point of view, the narrator isn't a character, but an outside observer. In this text, we learn something different about Christina. What does the narrator tell us? We're told she's completely absorbed in her work and that she didn't notice Lucy's sigh. But did the narrator say anything about Christina ignoring Lucy? Or about their thoughts or feelings? No, we don't know how they feel because the narrator doesn't tell us. Since we're seeing it from this perspective, we assume Christina's just focused on her exam, and we probably don't feel frustrated toward her at all. Wow! It's interesting how different points of view shape what we know and how we feel about events and characters in a story. Hey, remember that restaurant I was thinking about going to? The restaurant's website description and that diner's review were written from different perspectives. The person reviewing La Bella Bistro didn't know the air conditioning was broken or that the menu changes weekly. This influenced their opinion. But imagine if they'd known this. Do you think their review would have been different? Probably. So neither text was wrong. They were just written from different points of view. You know what? I'm going to book a table to see what La Bella Bistro is like for myself. Next time you're reading a story, think about who's telling it and how that affects what you understand. See you soon, everyone. And remember, where there are words, there's a world to explore. Hey.